Guys, the Boring Engineer here, back with another lockpicking video. Today I've got the Kwikset 3rd generation Smartkey lock. This is a really common lock here in the United States for residential use, and that's really for one key reason. Excuse me, I'm a little bit of a cold. And that reason is that it is user rekeyable, meaning that anyone with the skill to basically install this lock also has the ability to change what key operates it, which is a really cool feature for a lot of people. And to do that little trick, it has to operate a little differently from your traditional lock. It uses what's called a reverse sidebar, which is what we're taking advantage of right now to tension it, as you cannot tension this type of sidebar lock in the traditional manner. I just had to sneak past the spring there. Let's check our progress. Okay, we've got 1, 2, and 3 set. Set number 5 now, because 4, I believe, is a 0 lift. And 1 click. Alright, that may have got us there. Let's try and turn the core now. Alright, I think we've got it. So now, while applying tension, we simply carefully remove this shim. And there we go. The lock is open. So let's get these tools out of the way here and take this thing apart and take a look at it. Oops, it's got stuff all over here. Let's grab new pinning tray, fancy guy. Alright, so again, the keys, not too bad bidding on this from the factory, but again, cool because you can change it to whatever you want really, really easily without any sort of tools, really. So this is just the lock housing. We don't need that anymore. So let's get into the guts of this thing. Don't even really need a circlip tool. Fine Kwikset machinery. We do need the keys though. Well, we don't, but I like gutting this with the key. Whoops, we'll have to relock it first, of course. Alright, so I like to turn these 180 degrees. Oh, before we take it apart too far, let's look at this sidebar mechanism. So, how this works, oops, straps in the way here. So you can see it's made out of this really cheap pot metal, and I've probably picked this too many times now. You can see it's kind of worn away there. But this sidebar, when I remove the key, you see that interacts there. And so when you rotate the lock, that binds against the lock body. And if you look at it, if I pick with that rotated, there's no tension on these. They just bounce. You can see a little bit of how this starts to work. These are the slider kind of side that interact with the sidebar. So when we put the key in, come on, focus up. There you go. Those sliders, see, they combinate until they all line up, and that sidebar drops. So pops out, sidebar in. Okay, so now let's take this thing apart a little further. Rotate 180 degrees, and then slide out, holding everything pretty carefully. There's a lot of tiny parts in here. So let's take a look at this. So this whole side piece comes off, and how the change mechanism works is this piece, this carriage actually slides back. See that little spring there? So keep that in mind What we're going to do first, though, is we're going to flip this upside down and carefully pull it apart. And that's how you can see this whole mechanism. So, you see the sidebar back behind, and you see this little channel and these teeth on this key side. And those teeth interact with these teeth at various heights. And so that's kind of the mechanism and how it re-keys. So when you push it back, you see these little groove teeth have to be all in a line to line up with that to allow them to slide apart. And then you can use any key and it will then snap back into place and contact those little teeth there. You can see them. I'll put this guy down. And see if we can get a little bit better. Those little teeth here. See those guys? And those interact with this element here. With all these little kind of straight cut gear right here. And that's how you basically select your cuts. If we turn it over carefully, we can see our sidebar with the two sidebar springs. So those sidebar springs are what apply tension. They're very, very light springs. And they're what pulls the sidebar in to the lock and allows it to rotate. I don't think there's any point getting much beyond this. On the other side, we could get into it, and I can show you at least how it works here. So you can see how those sliders operate against the key. So, actually, really quickly, what I'll do is let's do a change key. So, if we push this back, not have everything combinated correctly. Yeah, we do. Okay. So if you push that back, then you can remove the key again. And that essentially zeroes out the bitting. So now it's a blank lock. And then we'd insert another key and change the bitting. It's a little hard to imagine. You kind of need to hold the lock in your hands and play with it a little bit. But cool lock. Unfortunately, it's made out of just absolute crap metal. This metal here is just like, just a little bit of picking will really cut into it. So that's its big downside, is it's made out of just junk. So anyone with a screwdriver can force their way into your lock. But as far as subterfuge goes, yeah, it takes a little bit of expertise to use this shim. I used this shim piece here. It's just made out of shim stock. It's 20 thousandths thick, and it just has a little curl on it, and a little tip. So yeah, that's all I did. Oh, I can show you how that works too, by the way. So it goes into this channel here in the front, where that sidebar is. And that's how that works. How that sidebar attack works. So pretty simple. Kind of a neat lock, but yeah, ultimately kind of a sadly flawed design. Show you this attack real quick. So yeah, you just slip it in there and tension away. So if Kwikset actually did something to protect that sidebar, this would be a very difficult lock to pick open. I mean, there are a few other ways I know of that you can get it open without just non-destructively, but yeah, that's a big fatal flaw for this guy. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and talk again soon.